What's up, guys, and welcome. For this video, we are actually going to be looking at the next Pokemon TCG expansion called Burning Shadows here in America. However, about a month ago, it was already been released in Japan. That's usually how it works. Their titles is a mix of two expansions. Usually, that's how they kind of do it. Did you see the Fighting Rainbow and Light-Consuming Darkness Light-Consuming Darkness? Sorry, I was just reading the website there for a second. If you're new to watching my stream, I am streaming this, but I'm also recording this for my YouTube channel. I'm trying to do both. New to the whole, streaming and YouTube thing, so bear with me again. This is not fully professional. Obviously, you can see the back of my apartment, all my stuff over there. But I do just kind of want to, again, start getting into the habit of doing these things. Streaming, I haven't been on stream in a while. I kind of once or twice did Shadow of Mordor the past week, but I'm planning on getting a set schedule eventually. School is starting soon, so I kind of need to figure out these things a bit faster. But anyway, that's all said and done. Let's go ahead and just move on to this. So with the expansion coming out in just couple weeks almost, I want to go through this list again. I read it the first time it came out, and I just kind of skimmed through it because I just really wanted to see what the GXs were about. But I want to go through this again, discuss it with you guys, and maybe get some deck ideas. I'm going to be writing down my own notes too, so that way when the expansion does come out, I can start going online and building those decks and recording those and posting them on YouTube for you guys. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I am using PokeBeach. If you've been playing TCG for a while, then you know PokeBeach is kind of like the go-to place to get all your news, information, all that stuff about Pokemon, whether it's the card game, the video game, the anime, what Pokemon Go, whatever the case may be. Everything Pokemon, they pretty much post it almost instantly, which is pretty cool. So I go to these guys a lot. As you can see, this was posted 4 weeks ago, but I just want to go through it a second time and finally write down some ideas so that way I get my own ideas for when I want to do this. So let's go through it. Start off Caterpie, Butterfree line. Nothing too exciting with this. A lot of people are going crazy with the art. Because if you've watched the anime, this is the episode where Ash pretty much says bye to Butterfree and just like releases him. And this is an homage to that, which is pretty cool. I like it. But the attacks aren't that great. I know a lot of people are talking about the first one, Bye Bye Healing. For 1 grass energy, you heal all damage from each of your Pokemon, then shuffle this Pokemon, all cards attached into your deck. I like that it can heal all damage from all of your Pokemon, but it's not efficient. I mean, you use the attack, and then you have to put that whole line away into the deck. I mean, you've spent some time putting that on there. Yes, we have Force of Giant Plants right now, but that's going to be rotated in just about a month, so there's really no point in playing that one. So I'm really not going to be looking to put this one in any of my decks, at least as of right now, unless someone proves me otherwise. Tangela, Tangrowth, nothing too exciting there, but the Wimpod and Golisopod GX. Okay, so I'm definitely going to be making a deck out of this guy, and this guy's kind of a biggie. So his attacks: for 1 grass energy, first impression, 30 plus damage. This attack does 90 more damage if this Pokemon became your active Pokemon during this turn. For 1 energy, you can do 120. That is really, really good. So he's definitely worth investing some time to make a really good deck. I know a lot of people are speculating some ideas already for this one. His other attacks are not too bad. 1 grass, 1 DCE, armor press, 100 damage. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 20 less damage from your opponent's attacks. So, if you can finish off a Pokemon with 100 damage, I would suggest just using that one. That way the next turn, you're not taking so much of a hit. Kind of makes his HP 230 in a sense, theoretically, instead of 210. Crosscut GX, same energy cost as the other one, 150 damage, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. It's okay. Not the best GX attack that we've seen, but it's still useful, I guess, enough. You put a choice band on him, he does 180. But I think the first impression attack is what we're going to go for in this one. And we're going to use them with this Wimpod. Now, there's not a whole lot of talk about this Wimpod, and I get why, but the ability is still pretty decent, especially if you're going first, or if you're the first to attack. So technically, if you're going second, you can attack. And if you manage to Wally into a Golisopod on the bench, then you can basically use this Wimpod's ability to retreat away from that, and then go ahead and send out your Golisopod, putting you at the 120 mark just right off the bat. That puts a lot of pressure and intimidation onto your opponent. So we're definitely going to be using that particular one. All right. Guzma also, which we'll probably look at here in just a moment later down this list. Guzma is going to go very well with this one as well. So we'll talk about that when that time comes. Magikarp Gyarados. This Gyarados is kind of cool. Kind of sticks along with the theme of the Gyaradoses in the past, because you had the damage counters one, where the more damage on your Magikarps, the more damage the Gyarados does. This attack does 50 damage times the number of Magikarp in your discard pile. So realistically, 150, unless you are using Archie's Ace in the Hole, which in that case, then you are doing 200. Really, probably decent budget deck. Interested to see what other people are going to do with it. I may look into it somewhere down the line after I finish all the GXs, but at the moment, I'm just going to kind of skip it for now. Panpour, Simipour, nothing too exciting. Bruxish, Pikachu, Raichu. Raichu's kind of cool because of his ability. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed. So that does come in handy. So I guess you could play one of in your lightning decks if you really need it. I'm trying to think who else could benefit from it. Alolan Muck, most likely, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, it's nice. I don't know if anyone else has noticed. I know we're not getting Versus Seeker. I mean, that's pretty much set in stone. We're not going to get Versus Seekers anymore once the rotation hits through, which is going to be very hard for us to play our supporter cards. So we have to kind of get creative with what we're going to do. And if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of things that we can use supporters for are now kind of going into Pokemon. Now, I know the whole paralyzing thing does not support it. It says, your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. But it's just, it reminded me of Lycanroc and how it has the Lysander effect. Well, Lysander is also getting rotated out, so it's like you can play Lycanroc instead of Lysander. But we're getting Guzma, but if there's other cards that were like, it was like, wait, we can do this with supporters. Why are they giving this to us in Pokemon? So I think, the Pokemon Company is really forcing us to get really creative with these decks now. And it's going to be exciting because I think ever since Sun and Moon came out, there was a lot of great ideas that came out of that. I mean, as of right now, you may have like the one or two decks that are like the meta-defining ones, but there's a whole variety of decks. You look at any top 8, top 16, and you just find like so many different deck ideas. So I'm really interested to see how a lot of these Pokemon that have these abilities are going to come into play and how often they're going to get used. So looking forward to that. Dynamo, Electric, and Electros. Electros for 2 Lightning, 1 Colorless. 80 plus damage. You may do an additional 80 damage if you do this attack. Does 80 damage to one of your Pokemon. I don't see too much of a benefit on that, I guess, unless you are trying to power up a Tauros. Do 80 damage to your Tauros GX, you switch it out the next turn, and then you can just pretty much Mad Bull GX, doing a one-hit KO on pretty much everything. Probably another little budget deck there. Seviper's got a pretty nice ability for a basic Pokemon. As long as this Pokemon is in play, place additional damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon between turns. Poison has kind of seen some increase in play, especially with Toxapex, especially now with Alolan Muck coming into play here pretty soon. The more poison damage counters you can put on, the better. Toxapex GX probably could benefit from a few of those. If you don't remember what he does, it was place 10 damage counters in between turns, so that could really amp that one up. I know there's another Pokemon card out there that poisons Pokemon. Well, I guess you could do Salazzle. There's other ones that can benefit from that, so that's kind of it's going to be definitely used as a tech in some decks here in the future. Duskull, Dusclops, Dusk Noir. Don't see anything too exciting there. Maybe the Dark Circle ability. Once during your turn, you may look at your opponent's hand, put a basic Pokemon you find there onto your opponent's bench, and put 3 damage counters on that Pokemon. I guess for the attack that it has, which is very similar to Zoroark's attack, it's useful. But I don't think it's going to see a lot of play, especially since it's a stage 2, and a lot of people don't like playing stage 2s because it takes so much time to evolve up into them, even with the rare candy, because you have to fish for that rare candy. So we'll just kind of leave it off to the side for now. Croagunk, Toxicroak. Toxicroak, what is he? Is he the same as the other one? No, the Toxicroak from the previous version, he couldn't get damage. So let's see this one. Poison High, 80 plus damage. If this Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 80 more damage, and this Pokemon is no longer poisoned. Interesting. So you have to poison first, which first thing that comes to mind would be the Ariados, but I believe that's an Ancient Origins, if I'm not mistaken, so that's just going to get rotated out. So we'll have to figure out other ways to poison our own Pokemon, which I can't think of any. If you can, let me know. But I mean, that'd be pretty nice. 160 plus with the choice band, you're doing 190, which is one hit KO in all your basic GXs. So definitely another little budget deck idea. Let's see what we got here. Meowstic. And the Necrozma GX. I would have loved to have seen this card be like a main attacker, but he's more of just a support attack again. He's got the cool ability End of Light, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from colorless Pokemon. So you don't have to worry about your Mad Bull GX. You don't have to worry about Drampa being an issue. Those are the only 2 main colorless Pokemon that are coming to mind right now that people play a lot of. The attack itself, Prism Burst for 3 colorless energy, 10 plus damage, discard all psychic energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 60 more damage for each energy discarded this way. It's really weird, because it's colorless energy and it being a psychic, you could technically just put it in any deck, but it doesn't work well if it's not a psychic deck, because you have to use psychic energy to do extra with the attack. So it's really weird. Black Ray GX, this attack does 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon GX. Attack is not affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects on each of the defending Pokemon. So that's pretty cool. I guess if you are playing against a heavy EX GX deck, then that would become really handy. You've already pretty much weakened everyone down to a minimum of 70 HP, which then you can just come in right away with any other Pokemon and just knock them off the bench or even in the active position. It's pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. I like the ability. I like the GX. I'm still not a fan of the Prism Burst. If it was a Psychic only deck, then I would probably like it even more. But the other problem with that is that once you discard them all, how are you going to get the 3 back on there? Yes, people are saying you can use Max Elixir, but you've already probably used them to power them up the first time. So to power them up again is kind of going to be annoying. So I don't know. I'm not too crazy thinking about where I'm going to fit them if I use them at all. But we'll see what happens with him later on. I just like mostly for his ability. Rhyhorn, Rhydon, Rhyperior. Rhyperior is pretty interesting. Um, it is a stage 2, but it's pretty tanky. I mean, it's got 160 HP, which is pretty nice for a stage 2 Pokemon. The ability is really interesting. So when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. That's pretty nice. Just to put them down, you're already harming your opponent in the fact that you're getting rid of the 3 cards. But then on top of that, you can still attack, which in this case, Rock Wrecker is a pretty decent attack too. 170 damage. Sure, it costs 4 energy. 2 of them do have to be fighting, but you can just put strong energy. So pumping up to 190, 210, or if you want to go really crazy, 250. You want to put all 4 strong energy, although I would not advise that at all. But I mean, it's pretty good. I can see a lot of people making some decks out of this one just for the mere fun of it. So definitely on the budget deck list to make for sure. Sock. You know, I don't care for these guys. I don't know. I forget even what generation they're from, but they're just knockoffs of Hitmonlee and Hitmontop or Hitmonchan. Not a fan of those guys, so I'm really surprised to see one of those cards make it onto this list. Mudbray, Mudsdale, and Marshadow. Marshadow, definitely one are excited for. So, ability. The ability is the main thing about it. Shadow Hunt. This Pokemon can use the attacks of basic Pokemon in your discard pile. Of course, it has to have the necessary energy to use the attack. So let's say you were copying Lapras's, what is it, the Frost Breath or something like that for 160. That was what, two water energies, maybe just 3 water. It's 3 energy attack, but I forget if it's 2 water, 1 colorless. Regardless, you're gonna need to put the water energies on the Marshadow in order for you to use the ability to use that attack. The nice thing though is that then you can really fit them into any deck, and if you do, you have the positive of having a fighting type, or I guess a ground type, whatever you want to call it, in your deck. So, you know, you could be up against a Tauros GX, 180 HP, I think it has. But then all you're playing is water Pokemon, which sucks because even if you're doing 160, you're not doing enough to one-hit KO them. You put in Marshadow instead, use the same attack, but with Marshadow, and you're one-hit KOing because you're doing weakness damage. So it's going to be a really good tech card. I can see a lot of people putting a 1 at least in a lot of their decks, so I'm really excited about that. Its other attacks are not too terrible. For 2 fighting, 1 colorless, beat down, 120 damage. Pretty generic, pretty standard. 2-shot, pretty much anything. For 1 fighting energy, I don't remember its GX attack. For 1 fighting energy, 100 Fisher's GX, 50 times damage. This attack does 50 damage times the number of basic energy attached to this Pokemon. I'm not a fan. Only because, and it makes sense. I don't know if you guys listen to PTCG radio, because he made the same point. If you're putting 3 energies down for 120 damage, and you decide to use the GX, you're doing 150 damage. You essentially have to put more energy to your Pokemon in order to really benefit from the GX. And the thing is, the GX is only 1 energy. So I'm not really a fan of having to force myself to put more energy onto my Pokemon if I don't necessarily have to. So I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing the GX attack a lot at all. Probably not at all. It's really just for the ability. Just for the ability. So he's definitely going to get on my list to put in some decks here once I start coming up with some good ideas. Alolan Rattata, Alolan Raticate. Okay, I'm kind of excited for the Eradicate one. I think he's going to be a nice little rogue deck if someone can really like utilize how much. Okay, so here let's talk about its attack. The Reinforced Feign. First of all, no energy. You don't need to attack. You don't need to attach energy for this attack. It's a no energy cost because of the whole Alolan thing that they included since Sun and Moon. For 10, it does 10 damage. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon Tool card attached, this attack does 50 more damage. So essentially you're doing 60 damage for no energy. Now that doesn't seem like a big deal at all, but then you put in Choice Band instead of anything else. I mean, you could play Muscle Dumbbells to up its HP to 160, but I think you want to be playing Choice Band, because then you are doing essentially 90 damage for no energy. I think he's like a good start to a deck if you're trying to buy some time, because you're essentially just kind of putting a lot of pressure onto your opponent, saying, hey, I have this 90 attacker, in 2 shots your basics are dead, or in 3 shots your other stage 1s are dead, so on and so forth. So I think he's really nice. I don't know if you can make a deck just built around him. That would be kind of hard, because like I said, then you could attach Muscle Dumbbells, but if you do, then you're only just doing 60 damage, which isn't the ideal number to hit. So I think Choice Band is the best bet, but he should be, he's really good. I like him. I like him for stage 1 non-GX. He's probably one of my favorites, surprisingly. And I'm not a fan of the Raticates, not even the Generation 1s. Alright, Fairies, another Gardevoir reprint. Not necessarily reprint, but just another Gardevoir card. They just can't seem to get enough of this guy. This one is really good. Already in Japan, I believe it's like all the rage right now. People are, demanding more Gardevoirs for a number of things. So it's got the ability, once during your turn you may attach 1 fairy energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So that doesn't obviously count towards the 1 energy attachment you have anyway for your turn. So essentially you're putting 2 energies on 1 turn. If you have 4 Gardevoirs in play, then you can do 5 energies. Now that's going to be good because it helps its attack. For 1 fairy energy, although you're going to be putting more, 30 times damage. This attack does 30 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So yes, you may have 1, but let's say your opponent has 3, that's 4, so that's 120 damage, and all you had to do was just put 1. But if you decide to go crazy and put all 5 energies, because you have your 4 Gardevoirs in play, you have all 5 energies in your hand, so that's 5, 6, so you're doing 180 damage for that 1 turn. And then on top of that, you're doing more damage because of whatever energy they've put on their active Pokemon. So it is pretty crazy. It is a stage 2, but this is a stage 2 worth going or investing time to put out. And it's even got a nice little counter to Garbodor, which is showing a lot of play as well. For its GX, 1 fairy energy again. Search your discard pile for 10 cards, show them to your opponent, and shuffle them back into your deck. So if you don't know what Garbodor does, the Trash and Launch attack does 20 damage for every item card that's in the discard pile. That's been kind of annoying, especially since people are afraid to play their item cards nowadays. But if you are using Gardevoir GX for as a main attacker or whatever, you essentially can just get rid of 10 items from your discard pile and put them back into your deck, which then decreases Garbodor's attack by 200. So definitely very good. Although I would be careful what cards you put back into your deck, because if you're going to choose 10 item cards, there's no sense in putting back the Ultra Balls you used, because I'm sure at that point you've already used them for the purpose of getting the Pokemon you need, and they're already out on the bench anyway, or in your active slot. So I mean, I guess this is going more for the tool cards, maybe Max Potions, because you can easily use Max Potion this guy and risk losing that 1 energy. That's not a big deal. But am I going to make a deck out of this one? I will, just for the sake of my channel, but I don't care too much for fairies. I like to play with Pokemon that I really like to play with, so he's not going to be one that I'm going to give the spotlight to all the time, although he is very good though. So if you are planning on investing in a deck, I think Gardevoir is the right choice to make for the next expansion. Alright, who else we got? Morlul, Shiinotic. The last Shiinotic was probably better, the one you can search out for the grass Pokemon. Zygarde. This Zygarde is really interesting. First of all, it should be noted that it's got really awesome art. I like that they use the full form. That was always my favorite one over the dog and the snake one. Not that anything wrong with them. They're cool, but I think his ultimate form just makes him look more badass. But what's even more interesting about this card is that it's a dragon type, which makes no sense. Uh, Even if he is a combination of Xerneas and Evitel, Dark and Fairy, that doesn't make dragon. Um, I don't know. It's very odd. It's not like he's hitting anything for weakness. Nothing's weak against dragon, and he has weakness to fairy, which is kind of a problem because, like I just said, Gardevoir is going to be a major thing. So it's so awkward. But he's actually pretty good. Now, for the 3 energies, you get Land Crush for 80 damage. Not the best. Core Punisher is interesting. 150 damage. Then you discard a Darkness and a Fairy energy from this Pokemon. So essentially, you're playing those 2 energies and a double colorless energy to power this up. Now, I don't want to mention or talk too much about Dragon Energy. There makes no point because, in theory, which I'm pretty sure is actually set in stone, we're not going to get Dragon Energy anymore after this rotation. I was really surprised that they did not put in like a secret rare double Dragon Energy in this expansion, because they've been doing the whole secret energies since Sun and Moon, but no, we're not getting a Dragon Energy reprint. So Dragon Pokemon are not going to see a whole lot of play anymore. However, if you're going to make a budget deck and you want to use Zygarde, you actually have an option here. So first of all, as a basic Pokemon for 150, that is pretty darn good. Now you use Fighting Fury Belt, that puts it at 190. That's a GX, EX level HP. And you're only trading up 1 prize card. So if your opponent knocks him out, he's only giving up 1 prize card instead of 2. So that's what it's got going for it right there. The attack is going to be interesting to get around of. Now, if you guys watch Dark Integral, he was the first person that I listened to that made this point. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but there is a Florges, I think. I forget, maybe from Breakthrough. But basically what it says is that all your Pokemon's attack is 1 fairy energy less. So that kind of bypasses the attack requirement because you have to discard a darkness and a fairy energy from this Pokemon when you use attack. But if your attack is 1 fairy energy less, then really you're just playing a darkness and a double colorless energy. So in theory, that should bypass that fairy energy requirement, because if you're not putting fairy energy there to begin with and you can use it, then you don't have a fairy energy to discard. So I don't know if that's accurate enough to say that you can use that. I guess we'll have to wait till we actually try it out on TCGO, or unless there's some sort of correction modification to the card itself when we get our English set. But I mean, that would be pretty good for 1 darkness and a double colorless energy, and you're doing 150, 160 if you do Fighting Fury Belt, or even 180 if you're doing Choice Band. Definitely really good. Yeah, I mean he was worth all this time talking about, because he's definitely that great. All right, Porygon 2, Porygon Z. Nice to see these guys back. They were probably one of like my favorite to play with, or I guess collect in the Pokemon games. But I don't know as far as play. Let me see. Porygon Z, the ability to reformat. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may devolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and put the high stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. It's a nice ability I think if it wasn't for the fact that you had to, it's like only a 1 of. So you kind of really have to set yourself up. I guess if you've done enough damage to a lot of your opponent's Pokemon, you evolve Porygon 2 to Porygon Z, and then those evolved Pokemon go down, their HP goes down, most likely, one-hit KOing them. Especially from to stage 1s, and actually just to stage 1s, because if you look at the HP between Eevee and Espeon GX or Eevee and Umbreon GX, it's quite drastic. So it's nice. I don't know if it's worth putting, deck space into, because it's a stage 2. You probably would want to play a 2 line, 2 line, but it doesn't seem like it's worth it. I don't know. Maybe someone, like I said, someone could prove me wrong. Stuffle, Beware for like the 14,000th time. They can't get enough of that guy. I get it from the anime. I'm just not a fan. I don't know. Torment Spray. Choose one card from your opponent's hand and reveal it. If it is a supporter card, your opponent discards that card. If not, put it back into your opponent's hand. It's okay, I guess. Maybe a follow-up to a Delinquent, because usually what happens most of the time, I'm sure you've come across it, someone plays Delinquent, you're forced to discard all the cards, or 3 cards in your hand, even though you may have 4, so you save your supporter, which is usually an N or a for Sycamore. But then if you follow that up, that Delinquent with the Torment Spray, then I guess you're forced to get rid of that, and now you have nothing left. So it's nice if you're going to be playing one of those annoying decks. So I guess, what is it? Sylveon GX. Yeah. People will probably play 1 or 2 of these in that deck. Super Scoop Up. Nice to see that come back, especially with Tapu Koko being a main contender now. Flip a coin. If heads, put one of your Pokemon all cards attached to it into your hand. So essentially, if you got one sitting on the bench, Super Scoop it up, and then play it again right after for its ability, put all the energies on it, and start attacking. So I'm pretty sure Coco decks are going to see maybe two of those in their decks, just for that opportunity. Guzma, our Lysander replacement, which is getting a lot of hype, because not only does it do exactly what Lysander does, but you get the added benefit of being able to switch your Pokemon. Now, in some cases that may not be beneficial, which is why you're going to have to be, I guess, more focused or more conscientious of your bench Pokemon, making sure that they're set up. But what's really exciting about this card is that you can easily play this with Golisopod, and it goes on and on from there. Because, again, remember, Golisopod, once Golisopod becomes active, it can do the 120 damage instead of the 30. So essentially, if you keep playing Guzma every turn, then you have a 120 damage ready Golisopod to attack. So obviously, Guzma is going to see a lot more play with the Golisopod decks. Maybe a one-of, just like Lysander and most other decks, because we are losing Lysander after rotation. So I'm excited. I'm really happy for this card. I was pretty stoked about it when it was first announced. So definitely gonna see a lot of play. Wiki, I guess that's how you say her name. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws a new hand of the same number of cards. I don't know why anyone would really play this. Usually, people can say that it's a better alternative to N, maybe in the early game, but in the late game when you're taking out prize cards left and right, someone ends you're down to 1 or 2 cards, you use Wiki, but you only get 2 cards back, so I really don't see a big benefit to this one. I don't plan on putting any in my decks. Yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. Potown, pretty interesting. It's just like I think it was Team Magma's base. When either player plays a card from their hand to evolve a Pokemon, plays 3 damage counters on that Pokemon. Now with Team Magma base, it was for basic Pokemon. This one was for evolved Pokemon. So what's really interesting is that, again, I've noticed that since Sun and Moon, it's been really evolution heavy. It's like, hey, play these stage 1s, please evolve. Play these stage 2s, they're good if you can get them set up in time. And, sure, we invest a lot of time and effort to make decks out of them. We built some good decks. Vikavolt Tapu Bulu is a deck, so people are playing Vikavolt stage 2 with that. Potown pretty much, I guess, is forcing you to back out. I guess people are being forced to play one of, maybe. In their decks with this card, I'm trying to think. If you're doing a stage 2 deck, essentially you're putting 6 damage counters by the time they're at a stage 2. What's a stage 2? We saw God of War GX had 230 HP, so that brings it down to 170, which is basically a basic GX HP, which is, I mean, it's nice, but I just don't know how many people are actually going to consider putting this stadium card into their deck. I guess we'll just have to kind of go back and see what stadiums we have left, and see if this one's like kind of a stand-in. I mean, if we're losing some good stadiums and there's really nothing else to play, then hey, if you got to play a stadium card, just put in Potown just in case. It's kind of like how people put in Faded Town, the one that did damage counters on Mega Pokemon. You know, people slid that into Greninja decks just in case. You know, they're facing up against Mega Mewtwo or Mega Rayquaza. So you know, it's kind of I guess a sleeper stadium. It sounds good. I think in my head it sounds good. It does automatic damage. I mean, that was always a great thing. But I just don't know how many people will actually play this one. Then we get a chance to look at the full arts. The full arts have been beautiful since Sun and Moon. Most of them, I guess you can say. Sometimes the art, the texture and stuff kind of takes away from the cool look of the Pokemon, but so far recently they've been pretty great. Necrozma looks pretty menacing in there. What else we got? Marshadow. Marshadow looks pretty cute. Looks like a little bear. I'm pretty sure there's got to be like a plush line of Marshadow, like they have just ready, waiting at their warehouse to get shipped out. I mean, a lot of people probably like a Marshadow plush. Gardevoir, always in her leaping pose. I'm pretty sure in like every card she has like her head like faced out, leaping out into the open. So nothing surprising there. Guzma has an awesome full art card. A lot of collectors would be happy to get that one. Wiki has a questionable full art card, but hey, I mean, if we had that Skyla, oh, something's going on here. If we had that Skyla from, I think it was Breakpoint, that full art Skyla, then I mean, I guess you can go for the Wiki full art. It's the same thing almost. Rainbow rares, you know, I'm not crazy about the rainbow rares. Like, it's a cool idea, but I just don't ever would play with them. And even to put them in minor, I just feel like they're just there to say, hey, I got a rainbow rare, and then that's pretty much it. Like, there's no other value to it. I prefer the full arts over the rainbow rares, but hey, some people get a kick out of them. There's Necrozma, Marshadow. Marshadow actually probably looks the coolest. I think Marshadow is the best rainbow rare art I've seen out of all the Sun and Moon cards. That's just my personal opinion, though. And Gardevoir. Secret rare cards. So we got Super Scoop Up, Rescue Stretcher, and then the Fairy Energy, of course. I'm curious if anyone has a deck that has just Secret Rare Energy. That is nuts, especially since they're about, what, $15, $20 per card. So that's a lot of money invested in a deck. But I guess you could just reuse those energy cards for future decks if you're that kind of recycler. But I mean, the full art, the secret rare energy cards look awesome. I'm glad they introduced those since Sun and Moon. All right, so that's only halfway done. So we still got the other half. Did you see the Fighting Rainbow? All right, let's go through this one. Oddish, Gloom, Vileplume, not an item lock Vileplume, thank God. But I think its ability is just as annoying. So, Bitter Pollen. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's basic Pokemon can't attack. So I feel like this goes, again, along with my theory that we are going into a very heavy evolution-based Pokemon TCG meta because, again, we have all these evolution Pokemon that have really good attacks, really good worth investing time into. And then you have this Vileplume which says, please go into evolution Pokemon because your basic Pokemon can't do anything. It's going to shut a lot of decks down. I think, I know Fire is its weakness, but even if you're up against Volcanion, I don't think Volcanion plays any evolution Pokemon. There is one deck that plays the Starmie, but it needs water energy to attack, and you're not playing water energy in that deck anyway, so it's really, you're basically just telling your opponent just to quit. Like there's nothing else that they can do. So I don't see a lot of people putting this into their deck, especially again since we are losing Forest of Giant Plants. It's not worth that much time investing into. Maybe people will play like a one all the way through, one Oddish, one Gloom, one Vileplume. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Heracross, not all that great, but has an interesting ability. If this Pokemon would be knocked out by your opponent's attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out, and its remaining HP becomes 10 instead. So it's basically a built-in Focus Sash, if you remember from that far back. Yeah, I mean, I guess if people love Heracross that much. I mean, I'm a fan of Heracross, but I just don't see this card seeing that much play at all. Pansage, Simisage, Dewpider, Araquanid. I was really excited about this card when it was first announced, but after looking at it more, I don't know. The main thing about it was its Bubble Net attack. So for double colorless energy, you do 30 damage. Not that great. But during your opponent's next turn, they can't attach energy cards from their hand to the defending Pokemon. That's energy cards, so they can't just do the basic one or the special ones, of course. You're basically preventing your opponent from attacking. Because if you can get this set up from like the get-go, from your turn 2 or even your turn 1 or whatever, then your opponent can't attach anymore. Now they can still attach to their bench Pokemon, so you're kind of forcing them to build up the back line. But I guess if you Lysander and keep doing that back and forth, I mean, you're also probably forcing your opponent to play switches, escape ropes. I like the ability part of the attack. I wish the attack did more, but I guess it could be broken if it did more, because essentially you will be doing, if you put Choice Band at 60 damage, if you up it up anymore, I guess it could be overkill. But I mean, I'm thinking people will play this card. I'm sure someone out there is gonna make a deck out of it. I mean, someone beat a Volcanion deck not too long ago with the Araquanid from Sun and Moon, where it can't be damaged by fire Pokemon. So I'm sure someone will come up with something. Maybe I'll take some time to look into this one as well. Oh, the good old Charizard. You know, people say Pikachu is the mascot of Pokemon. Let's be real here. Everybody just wants the Charizard. I'm not a huge fan of Charizard. I'm water Pokemon biased. Charizard is cool. He does have his good attacks in the game and in the TCG. I don't care for him. I think he's too overhyped. I don't know. I'm going to still make a deck out of this one because it does have an interesting attack. I can't get excited about Charizard. I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you Charizard fans. I don't mean to. So let's take a look at it. 250 HP, which is pretty much the standard for Stage 2 GX. I think the only Stage 2 GX that doesn't have 250, there's Decidueye that's at 240. We're getting Gardevoir that's at 230, but 250 seems to be like the average. Its first attack, they always do is the Charizard. They always do is the Charizard. 3 colorless energy, 3 energy regardless, and it does only 70 damage. He always has a wing attack, I feel like. And it's always going to do nothing, basically. Like, there's no point in using its wing attack. Crimson Storm, though, is a whole different story. Now, it needs 3 fire energies, 2 colorless, does 300 damage. Now, the downside to this is you have to discard those fire energies. So you invested a lot of time into this Charizard for basically a one-hit KO. Like, he's basically like your last chance, I guess. It's going to be very hard to make a deck centered around this one. We do have a supporter card coming out in this expansion, which I'll talk about once we get there. That's going to help this out, but to discard the 3 fire energies is pretty rough. Sure, you could play Baby Volcanion with this one that brings 2 of them back, but essentially you have to use 2 turns. Oh, I guess 1, and then you can attach the fire energy from your hand. But it just seems like it's going to be really rough. That's all I can say. If we had Blacksmith still, card, not a problem. Discard a 3, next turn, Blacksmith, put 1 energy down from your hand. He's all set to go. But it's the 300 damage that you can't overlook that. I mean, there's nothing that's going to survive that 300 damage. Not even a Wailord EX with what, 250, put a Fighting Fury about set 290. I can't think of another Pokemon that's going to have more than 300. It's unheard of. Now it's a GX attack. Doesn't make any sense for like the Pokemon that he is. So Raging Out GX. You discard the top 10 cards from your opponent's deck. It's really good in the fact that you're discarding 1/6 of your opponent's deck, and if you use this later on after they've used Sycamores, after they've used their Ultra Balls and Trainer's Mail, after they pretty much thin out the deck, you use this GX attack. I mean, how much of their deck is left really after that? So in essence, it's good. I just don't get why it's on the Charizard, because Charizard's never been known to be a mill deck. I mean, you've had the Durants, what's the Avalanche Pokemon? Is it Avalanche or Avalugg or something like that? They're mill decks, but not Charizard. So he's got two different things going on for him. You know what? Thinking about it though, after what I just said, because I don't think I've heard anyone else say that, the fact that people are going to be using Sycamores and thinning out their decks as fast as possible, you surprise them with the GX attack, and then now they're really lacking resources at that point. That actually might be pretty useful. It just seems odd to put it on the Charizard of all things. But all right, that's enough about Charizard. Ho-Oh GX. Another interesting card. Sacred Fire, 1 fire, 2 colorless energy. This attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. I like the snipe ability. However, Alolan Ninetales does better only because it doesn't need 3 energies, it just needs 2. Ho-Oh, you need the 3, and Siley, you need to have that fire energy in order to use the attack. So it's not going to be probably used that often. Phoenix Burn is pretty good. 4 energies, and it does 180. With a choice band, you're doing 210, so essentially you're knocking out all stage 1 GXs and below. Negative downside to it is that you can't use it again on the next turn, but that's okay. Just switch it out for another Ho-Oh GX, and then you can use that one. 4 energies does seem a lot, however you can really get this up immediately on 1 turn, but you would have to wait till the next turn to attack, and I will talk about why that is later. Alright, Eternal Light GX. This one's pretty awesome though. Okay, so shaking the desk. For 1 fire and a double colorless energy, Eternal Light GX, put 3 in combination of fire Pokemon EX or Pokemon GX from your discard pile onto your bench. So the great thing about that is that you can put your stage 2s on the board. Your Incineroar GX, your Charizard GX. You can put probably Mega Pokemon such as Mega Houndoom on there. It's really, really good. The downside to it is that it's a GX attack. So if you wanted to use a GX attack from Incineroar or from Charizard, you can't. You have to really rely then on their main attacks. I can see this going really well with the Incineroar GX, because let's say you get a couple of Ho-Ohs on the bench, then you play this to get to fill up your bench with Incineroars. Incineroar, for his 1 energy, he does, how much is it, 20 damage for each benched fire Pokemon. So it powers up his attack, but I think people are just too focused on the idea that you can put stage 2s, and as of right now, I don't see anything that we can benefit from it right away. It is an interesting GX attack. I don't know how often it'll get used. Again, it partners up with Incineroar very well, but I can't think of anything else to go with. It is a cool looking card. I do like the art behind it, and it's nice to see a Gen 2 legendary back in the card game again. I think, did we get a Ho-Oh in the last expansion? I think we got him in. No, we had like a Ho-Oh break, right? So I guess it's been a couple expansions since then, but he's definitely one of my favorites for sure. It's that 180 that I'm really looking forward to. Pansear, Semisear, getting kind of tired of the monkeys. Heat more. Um, Sorry, I need to drink some water. Heat more. Flip 2 coins for each head. Set your discard power from 1 card and put it into your hand. I think there was a Sableye that did that same thing. I know there was a little bit of talk about that. Horsey, Seadra, and Kingdra. Now, I'm actually kind of excited for this Kingdra for a couple of reasons. First of all, let's talk about it. Stage 2, 140 HP, not too bad. All of its attacks, its 2 attacks, only need 1 water energy. And the thing is, even if you have to discard it, you can put it back on right away, whether it's be from your hand or if you have a bench one, do Aqua Patch. So I really like it for that fact. If you take a look at its attacks, for 1 water energy brine, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon with damage counters on it. This attack does 90 damage to it. So if you've already damaged a Pokemon, you can just essentially just do 90 more for that 1 energy. And the thing is, it's not active Pokemon, it can choose any Pokemon. So it's really putting your opponent at risk, making sure that he's kind of forced to play his max potions on early on in the game. Otherwise, you're going to do this extra 90 out of nowhere. And it could come in handy. Tornado Shot, again, his second attack, 1 water energy, 90 damage. If you discard a water energy attached to this Pokemon, it does an extra 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So not only are you doing 90 damage to the front line, but now you're doing 30 damage onto the back. Now, the first thing I thought of was Shaman EX, because let's say you did Tornado Shot, you did 90 damage to whoever they have up front, but then you just did 30 damage on the Shaman. When your turn comes back, and you, let's say they didn't get to KO you, well, now you can use Brine and do 90 damage to that Shaman, knocking it out, because you did essentially 120 over the course of 2 turns, and you get your 2 prize cards that way. So it is really cool. I will say the first thing that came to mind was I'm wondering if it pairs up well with Greninja. Because Greninja's ability, Greninja Break's ability, you know, you discard a 1 water energy, and then you do 60 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon. I can see this working out. So you have Greninja Break as your active, obviously. You use the ability to do 60 damage onto any of your opponent's Pokemon. You free retreat it. You put out or actually no, even before that, you play Aqua Patch, put that water energy back on the Kingdra. Then you free retreat your Greninja, put Kingdra out, and then now you're doing 90 damage to whoever they just that you just used your Water Shuriken on. I'm really excited for this card to pair up with Greninja. Maybe it doesn't make sense in other people's mind, but I feel like it can work well. Hey, EX or XTEM, Kingdra would be a good rogue deck, I think. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'm looking at small letters here. I think so too. Kingdra will be a good rogue deck, and I kind of really want to play around with it with the Greninja. They're both stage 2s, and I know that may be like a really downside, like a big con to that, but you're going to be playing rare candies anyway. So you could either evolve straight up to the Greninja or to the Kingdra. So we'll see what happens. He's definitely going to be one of the few that I play around with when the expansion comes out. Mero, Azumarill. What's Azumarill's ability? Any damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's water or fire Pokemon attack is reduced by 30. So in theory, he's got 150 HP. It's okay. Wobbuffet. This one's worth taking some look into. Sorry, I'm going to respond to this really quick. I don't see how it will work with Greninja. It does take a lot of bench space, but here's the thing. You're not using the Frogadiers to fill up your bench with the Greninjas. You're really kind of evolving both at the same time. Maybe evolving up to 2 Greninjas, to 2 Kingdras. So your opponent has to kind of be wary as to what is it that who you're going to attack with. Are you going to focus more time on a Greninja? Are you going to focus more time on the Kingdra? And it kind of, they had to kind of dance around that idea. That's how I see it in my head. But like I said, I don't know if it's going to be that efficient enough. That's why I want to really play around with it. But I mean, you do have that valid point. They do take a lot of bench space, but you're not going to be doing the Froggedier's attack to set up all your Greninjas. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, going back to the Wobbuffet. Shadow Knot, 50 times damage. This attack does 50 damage for each energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat costs. If you haven't noticed, I'm pretty sure I'm fairly accurate in saying this. A lot of the Pokemon nowadays, especially your stage 1s and stage 2s, are very heavy in retreat costs, meaning that they have at least 3. I've seen at least a 3 energy retreat. So with Wobbuffet, that's an automatic 150 damage. Now, there's a couple options to power that up, because you also have, what was it, Team Aqua Space, where it increased the retreat cost. Even if that gets rotated out, you still have the Dugtrios, the Alolan Dugtrios from, I think it was from the first Sun and Moon set, that increased retreat cost of your opponent's Pokemon. So even if it's just one Alolan Dugtrio that you have out, that's doing 200 damage for 3 energies. That is really good. Wobbuffet's a nice. I don't think there will be a deck built around him. I'm sure you can make a deck around him, but he's definitely a nice tech to put in. I think in a couple of Psychic decks, especially budgets for sure. He's pretty good. I like him. Not nothing great, outstanding, but he does have a pretty good, decent attack. Oh yeah, we are getting a new Aqua base. Actually, I think that's what's coming up. That's right, because we have Po Town, and then the other stadium. I forget what it's called. We're gonna see it here though. We are gonna see it here. Venipede, Whirlipede, Scolipede. I don't see anything too great. 140 damage for 4 energy. Not affected by resistance. It's okay. Sandygast, Palossand. Palossand's interesting for its second attack for 4 energy. It could be any energy. 100 damage. Discard all cards attached to both players' active Pokemon. Obviously the attack power is not that great, but the idea that you have to discard all cards attached to it, so I would assume energies and tool cards. I don't think people will play it, but again, it's just kind of fun to think about what you could utilize with that. I guess if someone had invested so much energy into one Pokemon, you decide to use this, and you kind of screwed them over, because then they have to get rid of all that. I just thought it was kind of worth talking some. Riolu, Lucario. Lucario's pretty interesting too. Another nice little budget deck. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon, until the end of your opponent's next turn. 3 energies, 120. That's pretty good, I think. Pretty standard. You're basically two-shotting a lot of things right then and there. And the fact that when you evolve right into it, you kind of get an extra chance. So you're definitely going to, for sure, two-shot unless your opponent plays a switch or finds some other way to retreat into another attacking Pokemon. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm thinking this completely wrong. You may prevent all effects. No, not even. So, yeah, I guess you are guaranteeing yourself 2 shots right there, because there's nothing that they can do to hurt you unless they somehow knock you out with Decidueye's Feather Arrow ability or whatever. But I think it's pretty cool. Lucario, I know I have a friend that's going to be making a Lucario deck, and he saw this card, so he definitely wants to make a deck out of this one. Yeah, you say Lucario's not going to be relevant. Again, I'm not looking for like main top contender competitive. I think he's going to be a fun little casual deck to play and build around. I think the ability's nice. Wish it was another Pokemon, but its ability's pretty nice. Crabominable. This one's interesting, only because of its first attack. It's another nice little budget deck, rogue deck maybe. Guts Hammer for 1 energy, 80 damage. This Pokemon does damage to itself equal to the number of damage counters on it. Now, the 80 damage for 1 energy is really nice because then you can put a choice band on it, does 110. Strong energy, you're doing 130. For 1 energy, that's really good. Obviously, the downfall to that is the second part of that attack where you have to, it does less damage, or no, it does damage to itself. Um, the thing is, though, you can max potion it, and it's not that terrible because even if you have to discard all your energies, you just need to put 1 energy on him anyway. So it's not that big of a deal. I'd be interested to see what decks are out there that come up with some great ideas for this card. I'm definitely going to be taking some time to see what I can build around him. 140 HP is pretty good for stage 1. Put in the trainer card, the muscle dumbbells, brings it up to what, 180, which is basically GX EX level. I think it's really good. Yeah, people can definitely make decks around him. We'll see. Like I said, people, like I've said this at the beginning of the video of the stream here. People are getting really creative with their decks nowadays. So I'm wondering what else you can use with him. Passimian, Wild Pitch, 90 damage. Discard a Pokemon tool from your hand. Wait, discard a Pokemon tool from your hand. Oh, if you can't, this attack does nothing. That's garbage. No, I'm sorry. I think that's just garbage. The Passimian from Sun and Moon was way better. Oh, man. Alolan Muck. First of all, I think the art on this card looks sick. I've never cared for Grimer or Muck at all in any sort of version, way, sprite in the game. I don't care. But I don't know. Something about this art on this card just makes him look menacing. And it truly represents what Muck is. I really like him, and I really like his attacks. First of all, he has 220 HP for a stage 1, which is good. I think that's better than Umbreon's and Espeon's. I think theirs is only 210. For 1 darkness and 2 colorless, chemical press, 10 plus damage. This attack does 70 more damage for each special condition affecting your opponent's active Pokemon. First partner that came to mind was the Salazzle, with the ability when you evolve it, you essentially poison and burn your active Pokemon. So with that partner, you're doing, what, 150? You have a choice band on it, you're doing 180. The other one that you could use was Hypno along with that. Now, I can't remember which set Hypno was in. I think it was Breakthrough. But if you can manage to do that with the Salazzle, then you're doing 210, 220 with the 10 plus there, 250 with the choice band. I mean, there's so many options with this card. The next attack, crunch 120 damage, discard 1 energy, attach to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's okay, I guess. You get the added bonus of getting rid of the energy card, but no one's really going to be playing that much. I think it's the chemical press, and then even better, the GX attack, which has a free attack cost. It may not be the best, but the fact that you can use the GX attack for free, I'm okay with that. Choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and switch it with their active Pokemon. The new active Pokemon is now Poison, Burned, and Paralyzed. Now, I first automatically thought, okay, well, that partner's great with its first attack, but then you're kind of giving your opponent time to, I guess, try to retreat that Pokemon back or heal it in some way. So it's a nice little stall. I think it'll be great for late game once you kind of reduce down what your opponent has and they got nothing else to play, and you bring out one of their other Pokemon that they're not, ready to attack with. I know it's paralyzed, so they have to be forced to use Switch, maybe Escape Rope if that's still a thing. Guzma they could use. So I just like the fact though that it's a free energy attack. And I'm really excited about building a deck around this one. Like I said, I never cared for Muck at all at any version except for this one. This one looks awesome. Alolan Muck Drampa would be interesting. Yeah, I can see that too. That's a good idea. I could see that. We'll keep that in mind for sure. Darkrai. Good old Darkrai. Can't get enough of Darkrai because Turbo Dark wasn't annoying for quite a while. This Darkrai is just a non-GX EX1. We'll talk about the GX1 later. Dark Raid's pretty good. 80 plus damage. If your opponent has used your GX attack, this attack does 80 more damage. But the thing is, you have to basically rely that your opponent has used your GX attack. I guess that would be what Pokemon would use their GX attack that early? Drampa, maybe Metagross. I wouldn't rely on it too much. Maybe a 1 or 2 of in a dark deck. Then obviously that 3 energy cost would be worth it for the 160 choice band to make it 190. It's a nice little support card, I guess you could say. No, you're right. The 7 price card game, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a nice little tech support card to add in. Ribombee. This one's interesting because I think it partners up very well with the Gardevoir. Obviously, there's a few downsides. First of all, the ability Honey Gather. Once during your turn, you can search your deck for 2 basic energy and put them into your hand. So, again, shaking the desk. Sorry. So essentially, you use Gardevoir's ability to put down one of those energies onto one of your Pokemon, and then you can use that other energy and attach it to whoever else. It's a great partner for Gardevoir. It's just a little bit of a risk, only because of its HP. It's 70. People can easily just get that out into your active slot and knock it out. I'm thinking though maybe not a lot of people would invest that much time because they're so threatened and intimidated by your Gardevoir. So and this is definitely a C play. I'm just not too sure how long it would be useful for, because again, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. It's not like you're putting all these energies onto one Gardevoir. That'd be kind of risky as well. Let's see here. Oh yes, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about this one. I will talk about this one. Diancie, HP of 90. It is a basic. The first attack is what everyone's kind of going crazy for. So Sparkling Prayer, search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon. And then you shuffle your deck. I can see it being really good for evolution decks. Yes, I understand that you can search out an evolution Pokemon and put it right away. I mean, it helps you evolve to stage 2. So let's say you got the Ralts out. On your next turn, you manage to get into a Kirlia. You play Diancie on that same turn, then you get it to Gardevoir. The thing is, though, the only downside, and I'm not as crazy about it as a lot of other people are, is that you're leaving Diancie there. So he's basically an easy prize. Yeah, again, you're going back to that seven prize card game, but I just don't like leaving a basic Pokemon out in the open vulnerable that way. If it said search your deck for as many evolved Pokemon, and for that one turn, like have a whole bunch of Ralts and then you just evolve them straight up to Kirlias, I'd be all for it. But it's only one of your Pokemon, so I'm just not as wild about it with a lot of other as the other players are. I know a lot of people probably playing 3 or 4 of these so they can get them started right off at the beginning of the game. I don't think I'm going to do that same thing. I don't know. And it's an attack. You've essentially used up an attack for that turn. Again, I could be wrong. I guess we'll have to see what the other decks are going to be like during that time period, and maybe Diancie proves me wrong. We'll see. It is searchable by Level Ball. Yeah, like I said, it does help out with Gardevoir. Yveltal, isn't it the same thing with Yveltal or Sableye expanded? I don't know what you mean there. Let's see, Noivern GX. I was really excited about this card when it was first announced for its attacks, because it's essentially Giratina and Seismitoad. It's been being compared to that a lot. It's both of those cards in one. So Distortion for 1 darkness, 1 colorless, 50 damage, but during your opponent's next turn, your opponent can't play any item cards from your hand, so you're item locking them which essentially was Seismitoad was for a colorless energy. You did 30 damage, and they can't play any items. So not only is it doing more damage, but you're also getting that item lock benefit. So that's really cool. Loud Sonic, Psychic, Dark, 120 damage, 3 energies, 120 is pretty standard. But then you get the benefit of, during your opponent's next turn, your opponent can't play any special energy cards from their hand. Again, that was what Giratina did. Now, again, at first I was excited about this card, but we are losing Dragon Energy after the rotation. And without Dragon Energy, this card would be kind of annoying to beef up, because you have to play essentially two different energy cards, a Darkness and a Psychic, and playing two different energy cards gets tricky because you would have to rely on Professor's Letter to make sure that you draw out those two. To be lucky to draw into both in the same hand from a Sycamore is very slim, I think. So I don't know how much play is he going to see right away. I don't know. His GX attack, again, 3 energies. His attack does 50 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. That's really good. I think that's really nice, especially if your opponent has a full-on bench. You essentially weakened everyone to a minimum of like 120, and I'm thinking like they're all playing GXs and EXs at this point. And that sets up for Noirburn for 120 damage for Loud Sonic on your next turn. I really want the Double Dragon energy. I'm surprised, again, I've said this earlier, I'm surprised they didn't do a secret rare Double Dragon energy for this set. Maybe for the next set when we get the Beast, the Ultra Beast in there. I don't know. I was really happy. I'll try to make a deck out of this guy. I just don't know how to do the Psychic and the Darkness together. We'll see how that works out. Alright, let's see. Some main colorless Pokemon. I don't think there's anything too exciting here. Nocturnal Assault, 70 damage. Look at your opponent's hand and discard 1 Pokemon card you find there. Stage 1. Bouffalant, which I feel like should get more appreciation for. I mean, he's a hard... Look at that hard head. That looks like a 180 attack. Like, that's what it should be. 4 energies, 180 attack. Can't use it on the next turn, that's fine. No, it's like 80 damage. I think that was the max that was on the other Bouffalant from the previous expansion. Noibat, this is the other thing that makes Noivern... Why can't I see it right? Noivern difficult to play is that... Well, I guess it's not a big deal anymore because we're not playing Double Dragon Energy. So if we had it, it's not like we can put it on the Noibat. You have to wait till it's a Noivern anyway, but it's so weird that it's a colorless, and then they decided to do its evolved form as a dragon. You know, people probably play a lot more expanded now. I am not a fan of expanded. I guess I can't even say that. I just never really given expanded a try. I've always done standard, but I mean, I can see a lot of people going back into expanded, and I'll see a lot of more players for sure. All right, item cards. So we're almost done here. Rotom, Dex, Poke Finder mode. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Put them back on top of your deck in any order you like, or shove them back into your deck. Now, not a very great item card. However, if you're playing something like Typhlosion that discards, that does more damage for more energies you discard from the top of your deck, or if you're playing Mega Camerupt, which I guess then you have to play Expanded, which does, again, more damage for each fire energy you discard from the top of your deck, then yeah, that's great. So you would use this item card for that, set them all up with fire energies, and then use the attack. Other than that, I really don't see any use for this. Sure, you can put them back on top of your deck in any order you like, but your opponent's probably going to end you away anyway, maybe. There's always that risk, so I don't really think it's going to be all that played at all. Muscle Dumbbells, I think we'll see some play. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is a Stage 1 Pokemon, its max HP is increased by 40. I think Garbodor will probably a lot of people will probably play this one with the Garbodor. I know people play the Choice Band, but I honestly think with the Garbodor and powering up by the items, I really don't think Choice Band is like the best tool for him. I think Muscle Dumbbells will, because this gives him an extra life essentially. I mean, he's at 120, a lot of attacks do 120, so he gets one hit KO'd. this gives them a second chance, basically. So you have to attack them twice, unless, of course, you have some GX or EX attack that's doing the 160 right off the bat. Kiawe. This supported card is what's making me or reconsidered building fire decks. You search your deck for 4 fire energies and attach them to one of your Pokemon. That is nuts. Now, people are saying, oh, you have to end your turn. Well, actually, that's a good thing. Otherwise, this card will be broken. I mean, you look at Charizard GX, which has a 5 energy attack cost. You play this, you attach one from your hand, or even before that, you attach one from your hand, you play this. He's ready to go. So if you're able to do that all in one turn and be able to attack, people will be pretty much upset about that. So I'm pretty sure that's why they put in your turn ends. That's a nice little, balancing of the pros and cons there. So I'm really excited about Kiawe. Yeah, going first, if you can play this on turn 1, your opponent's going to be very pressured to build up their deck as fast as they can. They're going to be, actually, okay, so the way I see this, so you do it turn 1. Let's say you're doing the Charizard GX attack, right? You're doing turn 1, your Charmander's got the 4 energies, you're ready, you got that rare Kenny Charizard GX in your hand next turn, you evolve, you start attacking. Your opponent knows that's coming, right? So your opponent's going to be searching, going through your deck as fast as possible. Now you can keep in mind the actual GX attack that Charizard has, where you discard 10 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. So not only, oh, now it makes sense. Okay, now I see this. Now I see why it's with Charizard GX. I think that's what they were trying to go for. Because, I mean, 4 energies in one turn, 5 technically, because you get the one from your hand. That's insane. That is nuts. Yeah, you have Tapu Lele to fish him out on turn 1, so it's not that hard to do. So if your opponent is burning through their deck, let's say they're already at 20 cards by the time they're in turn 3, you do the GX attack from Charizard, and they're down to 10 cards, there's not much else that they can do. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be that's awesome. Like, now I like this card even more now that I thought of that. I'm really excited about the Charizard deck. All right, again hitting the desk. Plumeria. Let's look at Plumeria. Discard 2 cards from your hand in order to play this card. Discard 1 energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. I don't like that you have to discard 2 cards for it. It's essentially Team Flare Grunt. However, it's not restricted to just the active Pokemon, because I'm pretty sure that's what Team Flare Grunt did, if I remember correctly. You discard an energy card. It could be basic or special from the active slot. For Plumeria, though, it can be from anyone. So if your opponent's building up, a Sylveon on the bench line there, or, whatever Pokemon that's using a special energy, or even just a basic energy, you can just get rid of it. I think people will play a one of. I just don't see it being played that much. People will probably just ignore it. It's more of like a just in case kind of thing if you really need it. Here we go. This is the one that we were talking about earlier that we couldn't think of. Mount Lanakila. The retreat cost of each player's basic Pokemon is increased by 1 colorless energy. By 1 energy. So again, this goes with Wobbuffet, increasing your opponent's Pokemon retreat cost. The only thing it's got to be basic. And as I've already mentioned, there are a lot of evolution Pokemon that are being used. I'm pretty sure Alolan Dugtrio is not restricted to basic or any type of Pokemon. So I think Alolan Dugtrio is probably the better bet. Maybe a 2 or 3 of Lanakila, just in case your opponent's playing basic heavy. But if they're not, there's really no point in playing this card. It's a nice little, like I said, it's there. Team Flare Grunt seems better. I think it is better. The only benefit is that you get to take it from the bench line. Like I said, it won't see as much play as probably Team Flare Grunt, but it will play. It will get played. Now we look at the full art cards. Charizard GX, pretty cool. Again, Not a huge fan of Charizard GX, but I mean, I can get behind the full art. It's good. Ho-Oh, I'm kind of disappointed. I think the regular uh, art for the card is better than the full art. He just looks so awkward. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Alolan Muck looks awesome. I love the full art in this card. Noivern looks awesome too. That pose is pretty intimidating there. Some full art supporters, Kiawe looks awesome. Plumeria looks pretty good. I like that the Team Skull peeps are getting the same kind of background art. If you haven't noticed, like the background here on Plumeria, the splotchy paint, Guzma has the same thing, and I think the Team Flare, the Team Skull grunts have the same thing too. Rainbow Rares, I already shared my opinion with the Rainbow Rares. They're I don't know. I just prefer the full arts over the Rainbow Rares. They're just definitely, I think they're like a money grab, you know, like, oh, let's add in this added bonus rare and people will have to hunt for them. They're okay. I think Marshadow, like I said, is the only Rainbow Rare that I really like. Everyone looks still cool. Escape Rope, so we are getting another Escape Rope. I wasn't sure when the last Escape Rope got printed out, but we are getting one, so that's going to give, again, people more options to retreat their Pokemon. So even though we have all these great things like the Alolan Muck that does the whole, you know, switch your opponent's Pokemon, and then we have Guzma and all that, people will still probably play one or two of Escape Ropes just in case. Ho-Oh is going to be better and expanded. Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt, because you have those battle compressors to play. Muscle Dumbbells, secret rare, looks cool. And then of course you have the secret rare energy, the fire energy. Those look pretty neat. And then that's pretty much it. And everything else is the comments. So we went through this whole thing. Like I said, I am currently streaming this on my Twitch channel. It is twitch.tv/SpartanStrike, and then this will also get uploaded on my YouTube channel. Same name, Spartan Strike. For those that just kind of joined in here, I'm still new to the whole streaming and YouTube thing, so there's nothing on my YouTube channel yet except for like some goofy little test video. So this would be my first semi-official video that gets uploaded on here. But I just want to make sure I go through this. I figured this would be a nice little practice start for myself. So for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, please hopefully you subscribe or at least like this video. Stick around. It is going to be mostly Pokemon TCG centered, whether it be news, building decks, going through, you know, set lists like this. Maybe I'll do Shining Legends next week. But yeah, like I said, just give me some time and things will definitely work out for the best. So for the YouTube community, hopefully I'll see you in the next video.